a real estate agent and an advisor to experienced sellers and buyers. Like I bring an expertise and a knowledge and a skill set that they need and that's valuable to them. I'm not trying to be an influencer. And I feel like that's what's happened with social media. It's a great tool to grow your business, which is awesome. And it's also social proof and, gives clients an ability to get to know you better, whatever it may be.
Right.
But I think we've gone the other way where agents have turned their first priority into getting a following on social media or going viral or whatever. And it's not transacting and becoming an expert at your craft. Like to me, I've been in real estate for 13 years. I'm an expert at this craft of transacting real estate.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of agents are becoming an expert at being social media influencers in hopes that they're going to be able to sell a lot of real estate. And those are two really different things.
For sure. So what in your mind separates, where's the distinction between the true professional, realtor versus, as people would say, just another sales guy, another salesperson, right?
Yeah. I think knowledge and like I said, like to me, it's a craft. It's an expertise, right? So I've always posted stories and stuff, but never strategic posts other than whatever, if we take family pictures or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been a little bit of a challenge to be like, okay, what am I posting today? What's the plan? Whatever.
Right.
So yeah.
How have you kind of come up with a plan or a process for that now? Because you seem to be pretty consistent these days now.
Yeah, so I basically I have a running note on my phone where it's just ideas, and some of them are I'll see something and I'm like, oh, I have a different, I'll see somebody post a thread or a Facebook post, and I'm like, oh, I have a different opinion on that than most agents or whatever. So I'll just make a note of it, and then I try to take a day, not a full day, but a couple hours one day a week, and just film some of the videos, or at least start them. A lot of my stuff is just B-roll video with the text over it.
Yeah.
And so if I'm not actually filming it, then I'll start it in the edits, I'll put the caption or whatever. And then, so I always have 5 or 6 kind of backlogged in there, which is nice. And I just keep the running note. So anytime something comes up or a story happens with a client that I think has some valuable information in it, whatever, I'll throw it in the note. And then I just, when it's time to film content, I just kind of scroll through and pick. And some of them have been in there for 3 months, and others I'll have an idea and I'll shoot it the next day, just depending on what I have to say or, whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I really enjoyed the one where you started with your Nerf gun.
Yeah.
By popular demand that nobody asked for, or something like that. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think most people hate real estate content, and so I try to lean into it a little bit. There's good content out there, don't get me wrong, but I feel like most real estate content's pretty generic and the same. And so I'm if I can make my content valuable, but also lean into the fact that people don't like real estate content for the most part, unless they're actively buying or selling, or they're in the industry, which
Right.
it's always great to connect with people in the industry, but you're not going to be my client,
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to find a unique way to connect with people. And I think I've done that by leaning into I understand you don't like this content, but it's going to be valuable information that you might want.
Yeah, for sure. Why do you think the real estate content out there cannot, if you want to call it sucks, right?
Yeah.
Why is it not very good? What do you think is the component that's missing that is not really connecting with people?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of a couple things. I think first, most of it is tone deaf, right? So the consumer at large, every poll you read, even if you just go read comments on a Facebook post or about a real estate agent, they don't trust us. They think we're salesy. They don't think we have their best interest in mind. So I think when I say tone deaf, I mean we're not listening to the consumer when we're putting out content. So we're putting out stuff that's basically just self-promotion to an audience of people that don't like us. So that's already a loss. And then the second thing is everybody's doing the same thing, because that's what all the experts are saying to do right now. They're saying, even if you go on these, whether you pay for courses or you just look at free tips, it's find somebody in your niche that's crushing it and then basically copy their content. So then when you have 100 people doing that, I kind of make a joke, and this is not a knock on any of the agents here locally, but Like if you scroll through, there's 2 dozen, maybe 50 agents that I could scroll through their Instagram and see 5 things I wish I would have known before moving to Idaho.
Yeah.
Or, whatever, which, and obviously like that's targeting a reload buyer. It's a noisy space, and it's not, like I said, it's not a knock on their content necessarily, but it's like, there's no originality on it. And what's the real value add? Because most of it's just trying to get views,
Yeah.
which help, but I'm like, are you actually talking to the right person at the right time? So
For
yeah,
sure.
I think that's why it sucks. There's a lot of it. It's really noisy, and it's most of it's very similar, and a lot of it's tone deaf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Most of the videos too, it seems like they're attempting to become a Netflix documentary.
Yeah.
Every listing video. I mean, the videos are getting great. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And like, where does it end? Or,
Yeah.
or what's the outcome? What's the end goal here? Like,
Yeah, it's
full movie production?
yeah, it seems like it sometimes, or like with the AI now, like how many have you seen now listing videos, helicopter taking the sheet off the house, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. You see the first time, a little shock value. And I'm like, again, not knocking any of it. I use AI on a lot of my videos now, even recently. Yeah, yeah. Just because I had a bunch of still images, and I'm like, cool, make it a 5-second clip that I could put text over. And so it's like, it looks a little unnatural, but it does the trick, But I think, yeah, it's hard, where does it end? And at what point do they start putting out content? It's funny, like you see a lot of these agents across the country, they've made their niche home tours. And then you look at their production and they've sold 3 houses. This is a real thing. Like an agent in Utah has like 80,000 followers, does a bunch of home tours, and then has 3 sales last year. And again, like everybody's got their own thing, but for me personally, I'm a real estate agent and an advisor to experienced sellers and buyers. Like I bring an expertise and a knowledge and a skill set that they need, and that is valuable to them. I'm not trying to be an influencer. And I feel like that's what's happened with social media. It's a great tool to grow your business, which is awesome. And it's also social proof, and gives clients an ability to get to know you better, whatever it may be.
Right.
But I think we've gone the other way, where agents have turned their first priority into getting a following on social media or going viral or whatever. And it's not transacting and becoming an expert at your craft. Like to me, I've been in real estate for 13 years. I'm an expert at this craft of transacting real estate.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of agents are becoming an expert at being social media influencers in hopes that they're going to be able to sell a lot of real estate. And those are two really different things.
For sure. So what in your mind separates, where's the distinction between the true professional, realtor, versus, as people would say, just another sales guy, another salesperson, right?
Yeah. I think knowledge, and like I said, like to me, it's a craft. It's an expertise, right? So I have years of very formal sales training, objection handling, negotiation skills, knowledge of the actual transaction, how things happen in a transaction, timelines, terms of the contract. Like that's the crazy thing. Like you could talk to an agent that has never read the contract line by line, and I used to be that agent, but I think knowledge is power. And I think we're in a market right now, especially, that it's favoring the more knowledgeable clients and the more knowledgeable agents. Like buyers are winning deals right now if they're knowledgeable on terms. Sellers are winning when they're knowledgeable on market. And, even now I was telling the seller yesterday, like when I'm pricing my listings, I'm obviously looking at the sold comps, but I'm pricing against what's on the market right now, what's active. That's the only thing that's telling the truth.
Yeah.
If something's been on the market for 120 days at a certain price, I don't really care what the sold comps say. Clearly it's not going at that price, So I think it's little things like that where you take a professional that's an expert at their craft versus somebody that's really good at getting clients, which is awesome. Get your clients through social media. That's a huge part of this business. Sure. That's where most agents fail. But then when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of the transaction, things could fall apart, or you're getting less than ideal service. Plenty of these agents still close deals, like by all means.
Yeah.
But are they really like true advisors for their clients? Are they actually, I look at it almost like a, high performers in any field, right? Like you're going to hire an expert at what they do because they're the best at what they do, the same way somebody would hire you. So I'm going to hire a financial planner. I'm going to hire a CPA. I'm going to hire an attorney, whatever it may be. I look at an agent the same way. If they're an expert at what they do, I'm bringing value to the transaction, not just somebody, reluctantly paying a commission because they think they have to hire an agent. Like, I'm going to find things you wouldn't. I'm going to tell you no if you're making a bad decision. Like, I'm not afraid to tell my clients no. I talk my clients out of more deals than I get them into a lot of times. And so, yeah, I think that's where it's like, are you a trusted advisor, or are you just a service provider that's ready to sign a contract for anybody that wants to work with you?
That's awesome. So you mentioned, a lot of training in negotiation,
Yeah.
and objection handling. Who do you follow, or what have you read, or what have been some of the tools that you use to train in those fields?
Yeah. So when I first got into like a real career, I sold copiers for Xerox.
Oh, okay.
And it was back, they were really heavy on sales training. So my first year there, we did a ton of online sales training, also did a bunch of in-person training. My first week at Xerox, they sent me out to a corporate office, very kind of old school, like sell me this pen type stuff, how to handle objections, how to answer questions, um, how to create a value proposition, how to create an elevator pitch, things like that. And it's like, I'll go talk to a room of agents and ask them who has a value proposition. Either they're all the exact same, or people don't even know what it is. It's like, how are you selling something you don't know what your value is? Yep. Other than just, I have a license and I can work with you if you want to. Like, that's really what a lot of agents are saying. Like, anybody that wants to work with me, I'm able to because I'm licensed. So I had a lot of formal sales training there. And then I've always been really big on just reading and, podcasts and everything else. So I listen to a lot of business podcasts and read a lot of sales books. Obviously a lot of the really common ones. And then I actually took, and this is like accessible to anybody. Anybody can do this. You can go online and take a FBI negotiations course. And so I did that. Yeah, yeah. So I did that, and yeah, it's cool. I mean, obviously, like a little bit different in practice, but it's an art, right? The art of negotiation, the art of sales. Learning what to say, how to say it, when to keep your mouth shut, when to ask a question. I think that stuff's really big. And then through our brokerage, like, it's really amazing. Yesterday we had an hour-long call, and it's hosted by one of our top agents in the country. She's incredible down in Arizona. She does a weekly call called Hit the Mitts, and it's just that. It's practicing, it's role playing. So you have 100 agents on a call, and here's the objection. How would you handle it? And then we go through and critique the objection, and it's live, on the video call, and it's really good practice. I think a lot of agents shy away from that stuff. Even on those calls, we have 100 agents, 6 people will talk. Yeah. But it's helpful. It's again, it's practicing your craft, because you get across the table from a seller and they say that line, you've practiced it, right? You know how to overcome that objection. Or you're in negotiation and you present terms that maybe aren't ideal to the seller, but they're best case for your buyer. What are you going to do when that seller comes back and tries to negotiate? Like, right, if you don't have those skills, you're just kind of subject to whatever you can muster up in the moment. And for me, that's not how life works. Like, you have to prepare, you have to be ready. So I can pretty confidently sit across from a seller. And like, obviously I don't win every deal or every negotiation. Nobody does. But if a seller comes to me with an objection, I can, reverse engineer that, and a lot of times get past it, whether it's a commission objection, whether it's I don't want my house on the MLS, whatever it may be. There's always ways around that. And it's not so much about selling or trying to get somebody into a situation they don't want to be in, or manipulating the situation, but it's like, I'm, again, going back to the first thing, like, I'm a professional and an advisor. I'm telling you the best way to do it. Sometimes that takes some convincing, right? If you think that you know the best way to do it, or you'd rather do it a different way, I'm here to let you know that this is the best way to do it. You brought me here, right? Like, you brought me here to sell your house. Let me tell you how we can do that. Now, if you want to talk about details and terms, we can. But as far as like some of these things that are non-negotiable, like, we got to get past that.
It seems you put a lot of thought into your process and your business.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been years of doing it, and failing a lot. And then a lot of transactions, knowing where things went wrong. And I always, at the end of every deal, at the end of every year, I go back and kind of assess things. How did it go? Did I hit my goals? Did I not? Even on, like I said, even down to the deal. I got one I'm closing next week. Like, it didn't go as planned. Where did we go wrong? You know, we had to get this guy into 2 different houses. The first one fell apart. I think mostly not our fault, but could I have done some more prep work beforehand? Could I set expectations better? Absolutely. And so, yeah, I'm always analyzing how things are going and where it can get better for sure.
That's amazing. That reminds me of one of the principles from Ray Dalio,
Mm-hmm.
like pain plus reflection equals progress.
Yeah.
It sounds like you definitely try to go back and reflect on pain points.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's, I mean, I've been blessed in my business to do a lot of transactions, which is great. So it's a lot of opportunity to learn. I wish I could say they've all gone smooth, but they haven't. And so when they don't, or even when they do, it's like you can go back and reflect and what worked, what didn't work, and then improve. And that's part of treating this job like a professional. I don't close a deal and then just say, okay, cool, on to the next one. That one was bumpy, but oh well, hopefully the next one's not.
Right.
You look back and figure out what you did wrong. That's any professional, right? I mean, an athlete, they're going to go back and watch their game film. They're going to see where they went wrong, where they could have, a basketball player, where he could have passed instead of dribbled or whatever. It's like all those things. You got to analyze that if you take your craft serious and figure out where you can get better.
Absolutely. No, I agree. On that note, also, what is your business principle? Like, what is your core of,
Yeah.
what is the core of your business?
Yeah, I think I wish I had like a 3 pillars or something. I'm honestly in the process of working on that, but I think my core values are really serving people, one, in a field and an industry where most people either don't want to have to use an agent, they don't think they need an agent. So in a way, kind of like showing my true value, but not in a way of like self-promotion, in a way of like when you transact with me, it's different. You can actually see the difference. You made more money, or as my investors, like I bring them great deals. So serving people is always like first and foremost, right? That's the biggest thing. And it sounds a little cliche, but that's truly it. I think I've seen a lot of people get burned by bad agents. I've had deals that go sideways myself, like not even just bad agents. I've great intentions, things go sideways, people end up in a less than ideal situation. It sucks. So first and foremost, always serving people. And then secondly, I would say using the success in my business to hopefully build a platform where I can impact other agents and help them grow their business. And it might seem a little ambitious, but I do want to kind of change the narrative around real estate agents and the profession in general, how it's approached. And yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, like, you have to do something worth talking about in order to get the platform and the influence. And so that's kind of how I look at building my business, is like, I want to build my business to a point where if I say something, people care.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, obviously going through difficulties. Everybody goes through difficulties and different things. And how you continue to save some of those. Some of them don't always work out. It's just part of the game. What is the dumbest thing you've tried that actually worked?
Dumbest thing I've tried that actually worked.
Like the silliest thing, or that an area that you were like, this is not, and then it ended up working and you were completely surprised at the end.
So
a situation like that?
Yeah. So it would have been 2019. I was selling over in Oregon, and I had a FSBO that I'd been really trying to get. It was in a neighborhood I was trying to kind of own a little bit as my farm, if we will. And so I wasn't having any luck getting sellers. They were using one of the agents that kind of dominated that market. And so there was a for sale by owner, and I just kept hounding him. Eventually he agreed to sit and meet with me. And so when I met with him, I proposed a 24-hour listing agreement, and I was going to raise the price from what he was advertising it for sale by owner. And I didn't, it was kind of a Hail Mary for me. Like, I've always kind of prided myself on unique marketing and really not even just marketing, but strategy in general. Like when I take a listing, I'm not just looking at price and days on market. I'm like looking at who the buyer is and how can we reach them and who are we speaking to.
Okay.
And this one, I had a weird feeling that he just wasn't getting the exposure he needed. I had a lot of agents that I had a list of agents that had buyers in that neighborhood prior to over the last like 24 months. And so, yeah, I went and met with him, and I didn't think it was going to work. The agreement was I needed a week to get all my marketing in place. And so over that week, I went and got photos because he had just like cell phone pictures. And that was the other thing, like even his for sale by owner listing just wasn't showcased very well. And it was at a time where I'm just like, I know this needs just the right eyeballs. So yeah, I took a 24-hour listing. I listed it for $25,000 more than he had it listed for sale by owner, and we got an offer over list price on the first day, and so we sold. So it was cool. So that one was like a real Hail Mary, but it worked out.
How long was the house for sale prior to you taking over?
He had it for sale by owner for, I want to say like 40 days or so.
So this guy has or gal has a house, puts it on the market themselves, 40 days, $25,000 under what you priced it at, with no offers, no action.
Yeah.
You took a week prep for the marketing, the photos and whatnot. In 24 hours, raised the price $25,000.
Yes.
And you got an offer over asking.
Yes, like 7 grand over that. So we sold like $32,000 over his FISBO list price.
What was his reaction after the close?
He was very happy for sure.
Yeah.
It was kind of anticlimactic. I thought he'd like think I was a hero, but I think he just I mean, it was like he was definitely happy for sure. But I think he just kind of, by the time we had closed, we had talked so much about it. And I had like from the day he listed it for sale by owner, I was calling him. So we had already talked for a month and a half prior to me even listing it, So I think he was kind of like, cool, you showed up and, did what you said you would do. That was like that kind of thing where he was appreciative, but I think it was very much, and it's funny because it's kind of how I treat my business, right? Like when things go right, it's how it's supposed to go. When things go wrong, it's my fault, And so that's kind of how he was. Like things went right, and he's like, that's how it's supposed to go. Good, And had it had not worked, my plan was to try to just keep extending the listing agreement. Maybe instead of 24 hours, give me a week. Show him how many showings we got or whatever.
Right.
It just happened to all click and all work out, and he was very grateful. I did get to do one more deal with him after that, which was super nice. He bought a rental property, and he called me to use me for custody of rental property, so it was good. But yeah, it wasn't like he didn't want to throw me a party or anything, but he was like, good job, you did what I hired you for. So
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just shows a different personality type.
Yeah.
Seems like he was probably like a high D,
Mm-hmm.
risk profile.
Yeah.
Like just very bottom line.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And he was hell bent on not using an agent when I first started talking to him. And I really just think I wore him down mostly. And so he was like, what do I have to lose?
Right.
Yeah.
And then he ended up using you for the transaction for that.
Yeah. He used me to buy a condo rental, which was nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That takes me back to a comment that you recently posted on your story. Somebody, was it a screenshot, a random screenshot from somewhere that you saw, or was that somebody that actually commented on one of your posts?
It was a reply to me.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. So replied to one of your stories?
One of my like threads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
About agents.
And it read something like, and I might be paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but it was something along the lines of, don't believe this realtor. He's just a salesperson, doesn't really care what happens after the close. I would love to go into, kind of rebuking that, like, right? Because
for sure,
I don't think a lot of people understand that this business is such a relationship business. Lending in real estate side, and almost every business, if you're doing it right, you have a database, right, where you keep your clients, where you have to have touch points for each client, calls. You want to build and nurture the relationship because we understand that it's not just this one transaction. We want to be their person for life, right? So can you maybe go into that a little bit, and what is your process for it, up to however much you want to share, obviously, of what do you do to keep your relationships? Do you label like different clients, like VIPs, BCs, whatever? What is your process, right? Of how important is that for you? and how much of your business is repeat business versus brand new business?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I mean, I think like, and again, like I think about this probably a little bit different than most agents. Like, I very much so am in business and I'm running a business, so I treat it like a business. And so even any business, right? If you sell a product, they'll always talk about lifetime value of your customer. If that person buys your product once, how likely are they to buy it again, replace it, tell a friend to get it, whatever, buy it again as a gift, whatever. So you have a lifetime value of your customer. And I look at my clients that way too. Like, what's the lifetime value? They're going to transact 2 or 3 times over the next 20 years. They know X amount of people, whatever it may be. So I'm a little bit more. I need to be better about. It's honestly one of the faults in my business about being not as relational as I should be. Like, I'm not the agent that all my clients are my best friend. I'm there to provide a service and be a professional and do that, and I do it really well. But even post close, I still make it a point to stay in touch with those clients, keep a relationship with them, even as a professional relationship. But I think where I say I do it differently is like, I'm not sending, like the fall recipes, and I'm not, doing like the birthday cards and stuff, which I think there's value, and I'm not, again, not knocking it at all. But for me, I try to follow up with things of value. So tax time rolls around, right? Like, I'm sending them all their documents again. You're going to need this, especially if they buy in the last year, like, you're going to need this for your tax documents. Something changes in the market, I'm going to reach out to those people. Like, I don't necessarily have my database sorted by like A clients, B clients, C clients, but I have them sorted by their preferences and things that I've picked up in conversation, right? Like, I have a whole pool of clients that have mentioned that they'd like to get into investing. Okay, great. I see like good entry level investment deals. I send them to them. I stay in touch with them. I do what I call my 5 in, 5 out. So every day, 5 phone calls in the morning and 5 phone calls at the end of the day. I used to call it in and out because it was on my way into the office and out of the office. Now I work from home, but I still do the same process. And it's just 5 intentional calls. And most of the time it's past clients. Sometimes it's prospects, but just reaching out to them, but with an item of value, not just like touching base, right? A lot of times right now, that item of value is, how can I help their business? If I know that they're in business or they have a need, maybe I can connect them to somebody, or maybe I can ask what their biggest need is right now. I have a lot of clients that run their own businesses. So it's like, hey, what's your biggest pain point right now? Maybe I know somebody. Again, tax time, great time to connect people to like a financial planner or a CCA. So I do that every day. My 5 in, 5 out calls to either past clients or prospects with an item of value. And yeah, I think, like I said, it's a little more cold, right? Like, I'm not necessarily my client's best friend, but I think long term for my business, it it positions myself the way that I want to be positioned as a professional, and as somebody that's bringing value to you outside of just like, you want to text me about whatever, your kid's having a birthday, which is great. I love that stuff too, and I'll, happy to do it. And like I said, it's one of the bigger faults in my business right now. I'm actually was just talking to my wife about having her come on and help me with some of that stuff, because she's very good at, getting gifts and throwing events and stuff like that. Nice. So it's like, yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you'd be great at that. But and I think sometimes for clients where like they want that closer relationship, sometimes that's a downside for me. But for people that value the professional, I think it's really good. And I do little things like, I actually picked this up from a guy I heard speaking at an event once, but I go through now and make notes in all my contacts of the little things, favorite sports teams, or, whatever it may be. So now, like the Seahawks playing in the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago, right? Like, I can scroll through my phone, search Seahawks. It pulls up every contact that I have Seahawks fan under, and I shoot them a little text, like, hey, good luck today at the big game or whatever. Or after they win, send them a little trophy or whatever. And it seems like it's not very personal because I'm like copy and pasting a text message to 20 people. But for me, like, the thought of doing that is my personal touch, and yeah. So I try to be really intentional about, picking up one thing here or there. Oh, this person really likes personal development books, right? So I'll recommend a book to them or send them an Audible credit or whatever, like things like that, where I try to be, it's small, but it's personal. And yeah. So to kind of circle all the way back, I rambled for a long time, but to circle all the way back, like when people say, oh, they're just in it for a quick sale, that's a business that's going to fail really quickly. If I have to go find a new client every single day, that's really hard versus I can call 5 of my past clients this afternoon, on my 5 out, and maybe one of them has a friend, or maybe one of them's getting ready to invest, like,
100%.
they need to buy an asset for tax purposes. Okay, cool. Well, I'm there ready to provide value. If I don't have that, I wake up every morning unemployed and have to go find new clients with people that don't know me,
Literally.
people that are cold. It's really difficult. So yeah, I think that's a failing business model.
Absolutely. No, and I agree. I think part of the issue why there is that potential stereotype is because the point of entry to the business is very low, right? This is a very low point of entry, or cost of entry, if you will. You go to your week-long school, you get licensed, and now you're a realtor. By the way, real estate school doesn't teach you how to actually be a realtor, what it actually takes, the fact that you need a database, how to work the database, how to make calls. It's just a bunch of laws and ethics that you have to like abide by,
Yep.
right? To be licensed. And then once you go out into the real world, you realize, how the heck am I gonna get people to buy or sell with me? Like,
Yeah.
what do I do? So then, yeah, you do get people that either have the capital up front to invest in things like Zillow or Realtor.com, and so they begin with a very transactional business, right? You got to start somewhere, I guess. But if that's your entire model and that's where you stay, just the very transactional business, constantly buying your next deal, then yeah, exactly what you said. I think that's a business prone to fail.
Yeah.
If you start that way, and as you build your database and you create good relationship with your people, so that you can, eventually either, fade away from purchasing the next deal, because now you have a database that actually helps provide that for you, then that's more of a success based system.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it sounds like you don't necessarily go super deep with the relationship, but you still have a process to still follow up with people, which is the important part.
Yeah.
Right? So what is one catastrophic deal that you were either able to save, um, and what was the reaction of the client post?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had one. This one's relatively fresh. So I had one last year. Client came to me in like July. They needed to buy. Amazing couple and the mother. So it was a adult couple and the mother were looking to buy a house. And they, like I said, they reached out to me in July probably, and they had like 3 or 4 family birthdays. Okay. Early September that they wanted to be in their new house to celebrate. They were gonna, it was their first time ever buying a house, which is amazing. I love that. And so they were going to buy the house and ideally celebrate everybody's birthday kind of combined at their new house. So we get into escrow in late July, get like 3.5 weeks into escrow. So we're like well into mid-August now, and the deal completely falls apart.
How come?
There was some unpermitted living space added to the house, which we were aware of. But when we opened escrow, we were under the impression that it could be brought up to code. And the living space was like a key deciding factor for them.
Was anything like a garage turned?
It was a attic space, yeah, that they turned into living space. And when we went, like, it was disclosed to us. The agents on the other side of the deal were amazing. Still in touch with them today. Like, the way they handled the situation, even though the deal went sideways, was phenomenal. But it was just one of those like ugly situations, right? Like, we were under the impression it could get fixed. We get 3 weeks into escrow, figure out it can't get fixed without tearing the living space out completely. And then, with no living space, the house doesn't meet their needs anymore. So we went back and forth, and a lot of it was like, okay, now we got to talk to a roofer. Now we got to talk to a contractor. Now we got to talk to an engineer. And so it's like everything's taking a week at a time.
Yep.
So long story short, the deal falls apart. We get into another escrow right after, like 2 days after we cancel. And because they had gotten so far along with the first one, the lender's like, cool, we can close in 12 days or whatever. Like, we're pretty much ready to go, which was a stretch. But we get into escrow and second deal falls apart completely, like a week and a half into escrow.
What happened?
And I honestly don't remember the specifics of it. Oh, actually, I do. That one's even worse. Sorry.
Oh, no.
That one's worse. I was going to downplay it. We get all the way through escrow with that one, right? Now that I'm remembering.
Ready to close.
Ready. We're 3 days from closing. Seller goes into the hospital completely incapacitated. Can't sign, can't, and we were
Elderly person, accident.
I don't know exactly what happened. He's good now. Thank the Lord.
It's good.
But we're literally like at signing, and yeah, that's crazy. Now I remember what happened. We're getting ready to sign, and we needed an addendum signed because the appraisal came in like $7,000 below our contract price. So we were just getting the sales price adjusted, or that's what we were hoping for. Originally, the seller didn't agree to it, and then we kind of fought for it a little bit, and he's decided that it was okay. He couldn't sign the addendum adjusting the sales price, nor could he sign the closing documents because he's in the hospital.
Right.
So we're waiting for a few days, basically get to the point where he was supposed to be out and he wasn't. He's still hospitalized, still incapacitated. And so eventually we just terminate because it got to this weird point where it's like, well, we can keep waiting, but he hadn't actually confirmed that he was going to drop the sales price. So I'm like, if we just wait for him to get out of the hospital, he could still come out and say, no, we're not dropping the sales price. My buyers couldn't come up with the cash out of the pocket to make up the difference. We had already challenged the appraisal, so there's not really much. We're kind of at a stalemate there. So I'm like, we're waiting for a coin flip, basically. And the other side is, God forbid he got worse and didn't make it out of the hospital. Then we go into probate, and it's a whole thing. He didn't have any end of life set up. So I'm like, we could be in a 6-month process now and stuck. So we ended up terminating. Now we're like late August, and then third deal, finally get them into escrow. They close. That one was relatively smooth. Got a little hiccup at the end, but long story short, we ended up closing on their third escrow.
There was a charm.
Yeah, end of September. So we missed the birthdays a little bit, but they got to get into their house. Ended up throwing a big party when they got there. But I felt terrible. Like family had flights planned out here from out of town. Like it was a whole thing. I felt so bad. But the clients are incredible. They stuck with me through the whole thing. I joked around with the lender because I'm like, I can't. Every time I call them with bad news, like they were just telling me how great I was, which I love. But I'm just like, I hate when deals go sideways. Yeah. Whether it's my fault or not, I'm like, this just sucks, especially knowing there was so much riding on that deal closing.
Yeah.
And it was more so just the sentimental value for them. They wanted to have their first house. They wanted to celebrate their family birthdays there. But yeah, they stuck with me through the whole thing. They were incredible clients. And, I was surprised after the second deal falls out of escrow that they still wanted to go look at houses with me. And, we ended up finding them a great one. And it was, honestly, out of the 3 escrows, they ended up in the best house, which is awesome. So
perfect.
yeah,
Thought for them.
Yeah, it worked out well.
Yeah, most of the time you see that it's the how would you define it? Almost like the buyer exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
Like after one after another, it's just they end up saying, okay, maybe this is not for us.
Yeah.
I mean, let us recover here for a couple months and we'll be in touch again.
Yeah.
So, at any point did that ever come up in the conversation, or were they like, let's just keep going?
Yeah,
you gotta find one?
They were so locked in, like they, for a couple of reasons, didn't have much of a choice. They had to find something, so that definitely helped.
Were they from out of state coming in?
No, they were here locally, but like they had a lease coming up, and then the mom that was moving in with them, she had already sold she had a mobile home that she had already sold. So she was like, every time we had to extend escrow, she had to extend her occupancy on her mobile home. So it was like they were already moving basically.
Right.
Otherwise, yeah, they probably would have been like, forget this, let's try again in the spring, because we started coming out of fall, and yeah, it definitely happens. But yeah, I was like, I don't know, I just felt terrible for those clients. And I definitely know I had a couple of those last fall where they, first escrow didn't work out, and they're like, just, we need a break, we're gonna get things in order. After seeing, 20 houses and everything else going on in the market and everything else, they're like, we got to take a step back, But luckily, these clients, like I said, they were highly motivated, which was nice. And yeah, very, very gracious through the whole thing in terms of, understanding that I was doing everything I could to make sure that things went smooth and things were kind of out of our hands. As much as I hate that, I hate saying, it wasn't our fault, but it was truly stuff that was like completely out of our control. Yeah. And everything that was in our control, we fought really hard to keep it together. But it started getting to the point, like literally I'd call and I'd be like, how you guys doing? And they're like, depends on what this phone call is, like they were just expecting bad news. I felt terrible.
Right.
So I started calling them just to like check in on the score of the game and stuff. Cause I'm just like, man, this is every time I call you, I have bad news, I feel like. So it was a running joke where we're like, hopefully the next time I see you, I'm handing you keys, not showing you a house,
Right. Man, well, I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah.
Everyone's a charm, but yeah. So, I mean, it shows, right, like the amount of work that you have to go through as well, right? And that people don't see. They just see the picture at the end on your Instagram, right?
Yeah.
The clothes, right? Like new family in their house, but it's like, dude, this took months.
Yeah, I made no money on that deal. I ended up taking a lower commission, crediting some of them, after being in escrow 3 times, and made no money at all. On paper, I cashed a check for sure.
Yeah.
But no money was made on that deal.
Yeah, when you look at all the hours spent, and probably like whatever you gifted back or whatnot. Yeah, it's like realtors make so much money. It's like it depends.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes we're looking at, you guys are looking at houses with people for 6 months.
Yep.
So you spend how many hours now?
Yeah.
And by the time you do the math on that check, it's like, great, I made $5 an hour.
Right. We go below minimum wage. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's a lot of averages, because you have those, and then you have the ones where like, I've had clients. I got a couple in escrow right now. I've met them one time, like they found the house. They, like God's blessed my business so much. Like luckily they still want to work with me and use me because they see value in my ability to help them through the transaction. But like, honestly, these people had they didn't have to contact me by any means. Like they found the place, they could have, got into escrow themselves, whatever it may be. And like clients I was with this week, like we're doing a design meeting on new construction. We're fully like in escrow, house is being built. We're doing design meetings. It was the first time I ever met her in person, so and granted, like I've done a lot of work for them also, but there's those ones too, where it's like my actual time invested is going to be much lower.
Yep.
The process doesn't change at all, but like I said, it kind of the law of averages all works out. You have those ones you work for minimum wage, and then you have the others where you're like, all right, that was kind of a gimme.
Yeah. So for sure.
Yeah.
Now, going to a local question here, like who are the top 3 builders that you love working with the most?
That's a good one. So CBH is an easy one. They're phenomenal to work with. Like
They truly are.
All CBH slander aside, like they're incredible to work with. Super easy process. All of their sales agents are very like I've had, and maybe other people have had different experiences, but like call them, get answers I need, quick to respond.
Yes.
Amazing process. And their houses are easy to sell. Like their promos are so good,
Very good promo.
There's things like that where it makes their houses very easy to sell.
Yeah.
Which is great. They never put up a fight with having an agent represent a client.
Yep.
So there's things like that make life very easy on CBH homes.
Yeah. They're very respectful of the market. They understand their local people.
Yep. Yeah, they seem more so than others. They definitely seem to value the local agent. I've had a few negative experiences.
Yeah.
But so CBH is great. I haven't had the privilege of working with Pacific Lifestyle Homes yet, but they are, from a builder standpoint, they are probably my favorite homes on the market right now as far as new construction. Extremely high quality, very, although they're kind of they're building subdivisions or in subdivisions, I should say, their homes feel very custom. So there's little touches of custom detail, touches of luxury detail at a relatively affordable price point.
Cool.
So obviously they're a little bit higher in the market price point wise, but you get stuff at kind of luxury finishes at a more reasonable price point. So Pacific Lifestyle is amazing. Hoping to sell a few of their homes to some of my clients here real soon.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I'm trying to think who else. I'm having a really great experience with Williams right now in Star. Their little subdivision out there. They've been same as CBH, just great to work with. Incredible product for the value.
Yeah.
So they're the place we're in right now. We're at like a low to mid 5s, and it feels like it very easily could be a $650,000, $700,000 house just based on the finishes. size, location, like all that. So in terms of value, they're incredible, and they've been great to deal with as well as far as communication. Working with my client, they were a little bit farther along in construction, past the point of customization of the house, and they were able to work with my client on customizing some things for him, and so yeah, they've been great to work with. So yeah, I'd say those three are the ones that I have like hands-on experience with and have been positive. Yeah, really positive.
Awesome. That's super cool. And then, yeah, on that note, right, like it's so, even if it's brand new construction, it's a brand new house, everything's
Yeah.
gonna be fine with it. Like, no, still get a full inspection.
Yep.
And if you are able to meet with your realtor and go check on the house at the different stages,
Yep.
I would highly recommend it,
Absolutely.
because you wouldn't believe how many times I have heard, and I'm not going to mention names. This is not what I'm about, but there's a couple different builders, two specifically that come to mind in situations. One was they were putting moldy wood for some of the framing,
Yep.
and it was clearly mold. It was like black, and the agent requested for them to replace it. The agent got a little bit of attitude back.
Sure.
Because of that, the agent did not trust that it was actually done. They had walled it off.
Yeah.
The agent insisted that they opened up the wall
Oh,
to make sure that that piece was replaced, because they understood that mold can spread easily. And it was in an area where there would be moisture, like near a bathroom.
Sure.
Sure enough, they did not replace it.
Oh, wow.
And so the agent made him replace that piece of wood.
Yeah.
That reopened the wall, replace it all. So
Yeah.
always, if you have the ability or the chance to meet with your realtor, and if the coordinated with the builder, that, hey, I would love to go and check on the different progress, right?
Yeah.
I think I would highly recommend that.
Yeah, it's super important. Like I tell all my clients, if it's completed construction, like obviously still get a home inspection because things come up. It wasn't on a personal deal of mine, but I was meeting the inspector at an inspection and he was running late. He called me, and when he got there, he was telling me that he was running late because he was doing an inspection on new construction and they never hooked up the plumbing to the master bath.
I was just gonna say.
And so when they were doing all their pressure testing and stuff during construction, everything was just draining straight into the crawl space. They never put, like, it was all plumbed, they just didn't connect it.
Right.
And so whoever installed the bath didn't connect the plumbing to the crawl space. And so, it's like, but that's something where it's like, if every time you take a shower or whatever, it's just draining into the crawl space, that's going to cause tens of thousands of dollars of damage over time. And most homeowners aren't chilling in their crawl space very often, so you wouldn't know until it's already causing massive problems. And then if you have the ability to, throughout construction, this is something that I think a lot of people don't even realize, but not only doing the walkthroughs at different stages of construction, but like I have one next week. They're done framing and they're about to go to drywall. We're having an actual inspector come out and do a framing inspection. So we're going to walk through.
Wow.
And, obviously visually we can see, and I have a little bit of a construction background, so I know some of the things to look for. But just because it gets signed off on by the city doesn't mean it's done correctly. It also doesn't guarantee that from the time the city inspector was there to the time they do move on to the next phase, that nothing changed, And so, so you actually can, throughout the process, have specialized inspectors come out for each stage and make sure it's done correctly. And it makes a big difference. Like you said, you got moldy framing. Maybe it was, the lumber pack was sitting out through winter. It wasn't covered properly. Or, sometimes they don't close up and dry those houses in as quickly as they need to. It's super important. So like the walkthroughs are great, especially if you're with an agent that knows a little bit about what to look for at each phase.
Right.
But if you have the ability to and the resources, you like hiring an inspector at each phase is super great and important because they'll know what to look for, especially like between framing and drywall. That's the biggest one. Like in my opinion, before things get closed up, you can still see all the electrical, you can still see all the plumbing a lot of times. So it's super important. I know a lot of times people think, well, new construction, it's a new house, everything's going to be fine. Almost every single time we do an inspection on new construction, we find something, and a lot of times it's not major. But you're still buying a brand new house. You want it to be in mint condition.
Yep.
It's good to,
And you have contractors coming in like all the time. Like it's natural that a human could have missed something.
Yeah, and they're just like, I mean, and again, like these builders are doing the best they can. I believe none of them have bad intentions. Sure, at least 90% of them have good intentions.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, they're building, yeah, but they're building all these houses, and you know, a lot of them are just have subs out there, and it's like you don't know, like if a plumber has 3 houses to do that day, and it's, you know, it's like kind of a joke, but it's like, yeah, it's a Friday afternoon job, like they just didn't finish it completely. And that really happens. And so it's worth getting things looked at. It happened at our personal house, like the vent pipe that ran up out of our furnace wasn't connected to the vent pipe in the that went up through the roof. So all the condensation and everything from our furnace is just going straight up into our crawl space, or our attic rather.
Yeah.
And I went in one day to change the filter, open it up, and noticed at the top of the drywall there's just a bunch of mold there, and it was dripping down, and so there's mold on the floor too. I had no idea, and it was in a little utility closet, so it's not like we use it ever. I just happened to open it up to pull out a filter, and yeah, so it's like it's just there's no reason. Same thing, just it was done correctly in theory. They just didn't connect it. It was off by like an inch and a half, and just condensation, you know, going straight into our attic space. So yeah, just because it's brand new doesn't mean it's done correctly or up to code. And like I said, just because the city inspector or the county inspector signs off on it doesn't necessarily mean that it's done right when it's all closed up.
True.
Yeah.
True. And then just for time's sake, yes, I know that you got to get back to some business, but a quick little closing question would be, if you could wave a magic wand today, what would you change immediately about the industry?
That's a tough one. I think,
And it can be also from the lending world,
yeah,
the real estate world to.
I think if I could change anything, it would be business practices, or even like marketing tactics, or even like you were talking about, the barrier to entry, right? It's so low. Changing the things that come standard or natural in this business that are at the client's expense. So like the low barrier to entry, for example, I go back and forth on it because I love that it's a low barrier to entry. In my opinion, it's like the realest form of a meritocracy. You can get in with virtually nothing, very low expense, very low time, and then the best ones are the ones that see success. So I think that's good. But the problem is, and this is where I go back on the other side of it, is that comes at the client's expense. So yes, the good ones succeed, but that means the bad ones have a handful of deals before they fail, where they're doing a disservice to the client. Right. And so I think there's a few things like that, where whether it's the barrier to entry, or like I said, whether it's marketing tactics or practices, whether, you know, partnerships in the industry between agents and other services or whatever it may be, where it's become common business practice, but it's actually at the expense of the client, because that's contrary completely to how I do business. My business is always in the best interest of the client. Like I've said, on that one deal, I made no money at all, and that's happened a dozen times. You know, like that happens all the time. But if it's in the best interest of the client, then that's what we're gonna do. And so I think there's a lot of common business practices, and if I could wave a magic wand, it would be getting rid of the business practices that come at the expense of the client.
Got it. Yes. So it sounds like perhaps you are wanting a more in-depth training for the newer entry.
Yeah, I think like if you're gonna be an electrician, right, you have to apprentice for several years, 4, I think,
4 years.
before you can even practice as a licensed electrician on your own. If you want to be a real estate agent, you can take your 40 hours of classes, not even really pay attention to the classes, and then pass your state test, get your fingerprints done, and then the next day go help somebody sell a $700,000 house with a ton of liability, or buy a $700,000 house, right? With a ton of liability, a ton of out-of-pocket expenses, whatever. And virtually, like you could very realistically get through all the coaching or all the classes and training and testing without learning anything.
Yep.
And so there's a part of me that's like, maybe there needs to be some type of implementation, or maybe it would be better for the client if, as a new agent, you had to, like, quote unquote apprentice under an experienced agent.
Yep.
Maybe to renew your license, rather than just paying the state a couple $100, you have to show proof of production. Like there's things like that where it's like, I see it all the time. I was on the other side of a deal with an agent last year. She's done one deal in the last 5 years, and that's like, again, not a knock on this agent. I get it's a beautiful industry to work part-time or whatever,
Sure.
because of the upside, but like, is that client getting the best service? Like, is that client, did you market as a listing agent and you haven't sold a house in 5 years? Like, are you really maximizing that client's profit? Are you representing them and negotiating to the best of your ability? And not to say she wasn't, but it's just one of those things where I think we could, as new agents, I highly encourage new agents to work under a team or a mentor. Do your first 5 deals under somebody, and yeah, you have to give up part of your commission. Nobody wants to work for free. I get that, but it puts you in a much better position. And then just, it's one of those things where it's not really tangible, but just all of us holding ourselves to a higher standard,
Yeah.
I think helps everybody. That's my biggest thing. Like, you see a lot of my stuff on social media. It sounds kind of anti-real estate agent, but it's more so like, let's all get better as a community. The consumer hates us most of the time. You might have a friend or a family
Because they have their own perspective.
Exactly. And so, it's like if we all do better, then guess what? Business gets easier for everybody, because now I get to walk in and meet somebody and they don't have a bad taste in their mouth about real estate agents, because as an industry, we're better. We're more professional. We act in the client's best interest. We don't come off as greedy. Those types of things are super important, like in the agent space, like you call it commission breath, right? Like, nobody wants to have commission breath where you're just begging for the next deal.
Yeah.
And if you're not transacting relatively consistently, you're not doing 8, 10, 12 deals a year at minimum, there's no way you could walk into a listing appointment or walk into a showing with a buyer and truly have their best interest at heart, when you know that your bills aren't paid unless that client closes on the deal. Right. Like, how can you honestly say, like, if this client walks away, I'm okay? Or if it's in their best interest for me to actually advise them to walk away,
Yeah.
that's coming at the expense of your income, right? So it's like, if you don't have a consistent flow of business, how can you really advise your client but you're going to just push them to closing. And then that's why the consumer thinks, agents suck, because they got in a bad deal.
Yep.
And the agent needed the check, so he pushed them to closing, and then they closed on a bad deal, and now we're here. So I think, like I said, as a whole, we could do a better job of mentoring new agents up.
Absolutely.
And acting in our clients' best interests, and it would help change the narrative a little bit for everybody. And that's kind of my, like, bigger picture mission is trying to change the narrative locally, on a national scale, whatever. Like, however much impact I can have is a blessing. And I think I hope my clients would say that the way I practice business is in line with kind of those values as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like with the saying, when the tide rises, all ships sail, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
raise the standards, everything. And the wrong ships or the wrong boats, the broken ones, will sink.
Yeah.
Right? Which is needed.
Mm-hmm.
It is needed if you want to have a more professional outlook, right?
Yeah.
On this career, right? On realtors and like even lenders too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, everybody.
So and by the way, we have AI now.
Yeah.
Is something that we didn't have like years ago. You can literally talk with AI while you're driving in the car,
Mm-hmm.
and you can ask it or train it to act like a buyer or a seller or the agent on the other side of the transaction.
Yep.
And you can practice the negotiation back and forth and ask the AI to rate your performance on how you were able to find the solution, if the solution was the right one. So, there's so many tools, and people need to start really using those.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think there's like you said, there's AI, there's, and that's bringing a whole different set of challenges to the business, but like I even posted about this the other day. Like, I think in 1 week I got emails from people in the Valley hosting social media trainings for agents, right? Like, that's the biggest thing. Everybody, like, how to post reels, what's working, what's not working, whatever. And I'm like, not to sound like the old timer, like back in my day, but we literally, when I got into the business, I was going to trainings on like contract trainings, 1041 exchanges. What are the timelines? How to identify opportunity? Like, like really the nuts and bolts of a transaction. And social media training is good. Like everybody needs to be able to get clients, obviously. But if you don't know the actual details of a transaction, you don't know the terms of the contract, getting clients is not your biggest problem. Like it is your biggest problem in some ways, but then you're going to get clients and you're not going to do right by them because you don't know all the details. And so I'm like, and the problem is like training on contract training is not sexy, right? Like everybody wants to know how to go viral on social media or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if agents spent more time, or at least the same amount of time, spend the same amount of time that you do watching content and training on content of how to get better on social media, spend that exact same amount of time on the actual details and the nuances of a transaction and how to benefit your clients. Because that's the other thing. I get clients because I'll reach out to them about real estate tax strategy. Like, I don't have to post a reel about that. I can reach out and call somebody that I know, needs that information, and they might decide to sell or buy because of the tax strategy or whatever. There's a change happening, or you have really intricate numbers on the market or whatever. And so I think, I think that's one of the ways that we could definitely improve for sure. And I think that agents would see that it's just as valuable to learn that stuff.
Yeah.
Because you can generate, like, again, all the nuts and bolts of a transaction. If you have one client that you save a deal for, or you get them better terms than they would have gotten or whatever, well, now that client's going to refer you clients. You didn't even have to go viral on social media for that client to be happy with you because you knew the deal, you knew the contract, and you knew how to fight for them and, negotiate for them and everything else. So I think there's a lot of value in just being professional.
True.
And an expert. For sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah. Lastly, right? Like, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you
for spending this time with me and for your professionalism, the way you carry yourself, you know how articulate you are. I think it's easy to see why people would choose to work with you. So, just keep raising those standards, and I'm pretty excited to see like how you continue on your mission to change the narrative.
Yeah.
Right. And continue to help raise the tides for all ships to also rise. So
hoping so, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, appreciate you.